I don't know about you, but I have always hated the phrase girl tribe. I admit it. It is something that I always thought was such a weird way to describe a group of friends. It felt cult-like. It felt like we all had to have this matching, amazing long hair and be happy and put our arms around each other and, that whole deal. And I hated it. I absolutely hated the phrase. And then one day it hit me. It hit me that as I was pushing this positive idea way far away out of my mind, that it was actually something that I needed. I didn't get it, but I knew I needed it. So let me take you back to when I was working my dream job. I was a photographer. It is something I had always wanted to do, and I had the opportunity to do it. So I spent years photographing NASCAR. That was my only job. So I would spend Thursday through Mondays traveling, about 36 weekends a year. And I absolutely loved it. It was so much fun being on the road, getting to see these new places, getting to use my camera all the time. And as time went on, I began to become really depressed with having to go on the road. And I couldn't figure out why. Here I was doing everything I absolutely wanted to do ever. And I hated it. I didn't want to do it. And as I began to break apart like parts of my job, my weekend, my week, I realized that I was being surrounded by so much negativity, and it caused me to fall into like this depressed state. And it wasn't like depression where I came in on myself and I didn't talk to people. It was like pure awfulness. I am a pretty positive, uplifting person. And to be in a situation where you have to constantly be surrounded by negativity, you can't live like that. Sorry, I've got crazy right here. Hey, you want to be part of this? Can't be depressed with these goons around. So anyway, I began to realize that I was being surrounded by negative people. And when you're surrounded by negative people all the time, you begin to turn into that kind of person. And so it came from me being this happy, outgoing, positive person to just hating people. I was mean all the time. I went out of my way to be mean. I mean, who does that? I actually went out of my way to find like the cruelest things I could possibly say to people just because they pissed me off. And that's how I lived my life. So every day I would wake up angry. Every night I would go to bed angry. And it just lasted for 2 years. And I remember I had this one point where it was like some of the people I was working with would deliberately go out of their way to be mean to me, right? I mean, who does this? And I remember sitting there one time thinking, this is how my life is going to be. I'm going to be surrounded by negativity, by mean, awful people, and I'm just going to live in this stupor forever. And so finally it hit me that obviously this is not how any person should live. And the reason I'm bringing this up is it struck me recently. I had quite a few people mention to me how much they love my motivational posts. And that means the world to me. I don't post it. I shouldn't say, I do post it for others now. But when I first started, I didn't post it for other people. It really was fully for me. Because I got to that point where I had been surrounded by so much negativity that the only way to put me in a good mood was to have it like written right there in front of me. Like I had to actually see a motivational quote in order to feel good about how the day was going to be inspired by, just to have any inspiration throughout the day. And so as I began to post these things and then people responded, I started to have this positive, I guess this positivity come right back at me. And I began to realize I was happier. And all it took was taking the negativity that was already in my life and replacing it with positive people, with positive comments, with positive videos, the silly inspirational quotes, like all of that started to come to the forefront of my life. And I began to realize that if I put it out there, if I make the effort to be positive, that it not only affects me and helps me out, that it also is helping others. So I don't know why this happened recently, but I started to think about the fact that if you live your day unhappy and you go to work unhappy, you come home unhappy, you go to bed unhappy, chances are you're going to wake up unhappy, right? And that's no way for any person to live. Nobody wants to feel like that every single day. And it took me a long time to realize this, that it doesn't matter if you're doing things that are cool and fun. Like I was doing photography. I was living my dream, what I thought was my dream, and it was miserable. I was miserable. I was making the people around me miserable. And at what point do you begin to think that that's not worth it? You can't continue to live that life. So as I began to push more positivity and motivation out, I began to attract people that wanted that in their life also. And, ever since college, it was really hard for me to connect with people. I think everyone kind of feels that way, where you get into the real world, you become an adult, and it's more challenging to find good friends. It's more challenging to find people that you truly connect with. And so I was having the hardest time doing it. And I had friends, like I had people that I got along with really well, and we had some of the similar interests, but I wasn't surrounded by them constantly. And so I began to realize that as I was pushing out this positivity and this motivation, that those people were starting to trickle into my life, and that they wanted the same outlook on life. They wanted the same things from life. They wanted to be happy. They didn't want to be held down by the negativity that was surrounding them, whether it was at work or, at home. Some people have it at home. They wanted to have that great environment. And that is really what I found out, that there's actually a good part of being in a girl tribe. And it still makes me laugh today because I'm thinking it's such a funny term. I know. It gets used all the time, and I use it too. But it really makes a difference when you have a group of people that you can go to every single day, and it doesn't matter where they live, where you live, and that you're just able to connect with them. That you're able, I want the way I see the world to be the same as the people that I'm around, right? I think it's the 5 people that you surround yourself with or spend the most time with. That's the personality or those are the things that, you end up putting out in the world. Like if you're around really negative, depressed people, or not depressed, but depressing people, you're probably going to act that same way. But if you're surrounding yourself with motivating people, with inspiring people, with happy people, you're probably going to feel that way too. And that's what you're going to be putting out into the world. And that's what I wanted. I didn't want to constantly go to bed every single night and feel awful about how the day had gone, or think that, the world was coming to an end. Because let me tell you, when you're in that situation, especially when you're surrounded by everything is going wrong, that's all you start to think about. You go home thinking that everything is actually going to fall apart, and it's not. It's all on how you look at things. And so within the girl tribe, because I still feel like it's such a funny thing to say, within that, I now am constantly given positivity. I am told daily that I can achieve whatever I want. I'm told daily that I just need to be happy. I need to focus on something good. It's not to say that everything in life is perfect. We all have our struggles, right? I'm not saying that everything goes well for me. I struggle at home. I struggle in my relationships. I struggle financially. I struggle spiritually. I deal with that stuff daily. However, even though I'm struggling with those things, it doesn't mean that I can't have a positive outlook on life. It doesn't mean that I can't wake up happy and then tackle those things. There's a difference. If you start with a negative attitude and thinking that everything's going to go wrong anyway, then it probably will. Or you'll just just nothing will ever make you happy. But if you go into these situations thinking, okay, I'm going to deal with this, and once it's dealt with, it's dealt with. There's nothing else I can do, right? You can go on to other parts of your day and still accomplish things. You're not held to this, you know, state where you think everything's going to keep going wrong. So basically, my whole perspective, my whole outlook on girl tribes, and not to say girl tribes have to be all girls also, I guess it could be just the tribe, is that when you're feeling your lowest and you're feeling like things just aren't going well, that you can't handle it on your own, that's what they're there for. They're there to help lift you up. They're there to help motivate you, help you see the positive in things, and really just kind of remind you what's important. Because you can spend your whole day being upset and angry. And honestly, if I was like that to you at any point during my time in racing, I apologize, because I was terrible. And it's hard to remember that I was that person, and I am who I am now, that people thank me for putting out motivational and inspirational posts, because it really has just been a whole 360. So anyway, thanks for listening. I think that the one thing we can all do is really strive each day to remember the importance of bringing out some positivity, to being kind to someone, to, you know, going out of your way to say thank you. I was told the other day that I was so polite on the phone, and all I did was say please and thank you and have a good day. And it was because I was talking to like a customer service, and, you know, I didn't get upset. Trust me, there's plenty of times I want to get upset, but those simple things, like, they go a long way. And so taking the time each day to really focus on being that kind of person, not only has an impact on your life, but also on everybody around you. They notice these things. So be positive, be motivating, be a friend, be helpful, and it will really go a long way. All right, I'm gonna go work out and try to hang out with these. Oh, of course they calm down the second I put the video on them. All right, good night.